This is a tax when the land, the name of the title on that land, on that property, switches name from you to whoever's buying it from you. That transaction gets taxed every single time. It's a lot of money, you will see. It's thousands of dollars. Nobody tells you this. And what I will tell you this is, if you were to sell your house or if you were to buy a new house every year, the city would love that. Not the city, the province. Because every time you buy a new house, you pay land transfer tax. If you buy a house and stay there for 30 years, they only get it once, right? So they just make money by just watching people buying and selling, right? So it's kind of like an interesting way of making money, but that's how our government works, right? Like they collect taxes and that's how they run their operations. Okay, you pay this tax to the Manitoba Land Titles Office at the time of that your home is registered. Here's what I want you to highlight. Land transfer tax is paid to the owner when the owner of the property changes. That is when that happens. The Manitoba government collects this as revenue, and the lawyer hired to do the transaction will ensure that the money gets transferred properly. Home buyers have to be aware of this cost, as it is a one-time. It's a one-time cost. It's a large cost, by the way, before possession of the newly purchased home. The first $200,000 of the home is taxed according to the scale. I will highlight that too. First 200,000 is taxed according to this scale here. Anything over is taxed 2%. Now, write this down, okay? This table is always going to be provided to you, so you don't have to worry about having this on your study sheet. Let me write down the decimal of each portion here. 0%, of course, is just, I'm extending this table, okay? 0% is, of course, is 0. 0.5%, if you divide that by 100, it's this, 0.005. Okay? 1% is 0.01, write this down. 1.5% is 0.015. And 2%, if you divide that by 100, it's 0.02. Okay? So there are your decimals, and we're going to use those quite a bit when we do the math. Okay? So this is what this chart is telling you, that on the first 300,000, not 300,000, 30,000 of your property, you pay 0 taxes. On the next $60,000 worth of property, you would pay this much, 0.5%. On the next 60,000, it's 1%. On the next 50,000, 1.5%. Anything over the 200,000, because by the way, this whole thing, if you take these chunks and add them up, that amounts to 200,000. Okay? Put that on the edge there on the border. Let me just zoom out a bit so that you can see the whole page. Right? That's 200,000, these brackets. Okay? And so this is how we, I call these tiers, by the way. Okay? Let's write that down. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4. I just go to 4. That's as high as I get. The next one is anything over, right? And here's how you do the math on these types of questions. If you follow my steps, I would say have an example on your study sheet, or just practice the ones that I'm going to assign you today. If a house is worth $385,000, how much would you pay in land transfer tax? And by the way, what we're going to calculate is exactly how much you would pay. Okay, it's not approximately. This is how the province does this. It hasn't changed. You take the 385. So now you need to write down. Okay, you take the 385,000 and you subtract the first tier from it. The first tier is $30,000. And you pay 0% on it, which, guess what? It's $0. No taxes paid on that 30,000. You do the subtraction, you end up with 355,000 that's left. Because you taxed $30,000 already, which is 0. The next tier is what? $60,000. So we go ahead and subtract $60,000. And what does that tier get taxed? 0.5%, which is this really as a decimal. So let's do that. We will do the math later. Right now, just write it down. Don't do any calculations now, except for the subtraction here. This is 85. This is 55 because we subtracted 30,000. Yeah. $355,000 minus 60,000. What do we get there? We get 295,000. So tier 1 is done. Tier 2, we are done. Tier 3 here is 60,000. So we subtract 60,000 as well. But that tier gets taxed 1%, which is 0.01. No math yet here across. We're just writing that down. You subtract this. 295 minus 60 is 235,000. We go to tier 4 now. Tier 4 is $50,000. So we subtract 50,000 from it. And tier 4 gets taxed 1.5%, which is 0.015. And then we have to do one of these yet. 235,000 minus 50,000, that's 185,000. Okay, pay close attention. We went through all 4 tiers. Watch. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4. Once you're done all those 4 tiers, anything after that just gets taxed 2% automatically. So if you go through all 4, whatever is left over, we multiply that by 0.02. Sorry, the 1 is a little bit far away, isn't it? So I'll make it closer like that. Let me zoom in a bit more to that area because I can, right? I almost need like a camera person here by me. Okay, so now let's do the math. So 60,000 times 0.005, that's $300. Let's write that down. The next one is 60,000 times 0.01. That's $600. Some of you could have guessed that already, right? Mental math. The 50,000 here gets taxed 1.5%. That's $750. And this is the big one here. 185,000, sorry, times 0.02, $3,700. You heard it right. $3,700. So if your house is worth more than 200,000, that's when it starts to get really expensive on that. So what we do is we add it all up. Land transfer tax. Don't add the 0, right? We don't have to bother with that. 300, 600, 750 plus 3,700. That would be 900, right? These two plus 750 plus 3,700. That's $5,350. Can you believe that? I was crushed when I was told that that's how much I had to pay. Well, my house wasn't 385, but it was in the thousands. So I had all this money saved up, right? Working hard to save up 20 grand. And I was like, yeah, I've got my down payment. They're like, actually, you need to also make sure you have this saved up, right? So it took me a while. So just be aware. I told you that the the government makes you pay down 5%, but you need to have another 3% saved up on top of that to account for all of these expenses, right? So if you see a house times 0.08, 8%, what is that? Okay, that's what I need to save up for, right? Sometimes the banks will give you a loan for this, like on the side. Oh, you don't have it? Give me the 5%. We'll give you a loan to pay this, and then we give you a mortgage as well. So I don't know. I don't like to have that many payments, to be honest. So that's what it is for this particular property. Okay, let's do another one because it varies. If it's not over 200,000, it's a little bit different. So let's do this one. And then I'll ask you to try number 3 on your own, to do it on your own, okay? 135,000. Let's go through the tiers. Tier 1 is 30 grand. I'm just going to go arrow $0, okay? I'm not going to multiply that by 0. It's pointless. That leaves you with 105,000. Go through your next tier. What's our next tier? Tier 2 is 60 grand. You subtract it, you multiply that by 0.005. We'll figure that out later. And you're left with 45,000. And this is where this changes now, the way we do things. My next tier is 60,000 as well, correct? Pay close attention to this. Can you subtract 60,000 from 45,000? You cannot. So you stop and you just say, what would tier 3 have been? 1%, right? Look up there. Tier 3 is 1%, right? So you just quit and just take that and multiply it by whatever that tier is taxed. In this case, 1%. And that's where the story ends. Like, you don't keep going. Once you can't subtract anymore, you stop, right? So 60,000 times 0.05, I'm going to cheat up here, and I know that's 300 bucks. 45,000 times 1%, you can probably also guess what that's going to be. 450, right? You add it up. Land transfer tax is 750 bucks. Not a big deal there, right? Because that's a pretty cheap house. Good luck finding that in Winnipeg. I don't think you can. I don't think there's well, I shouldn't say you can't, but I doubt that any decent house will be worth less than 200 grand. Okay. Can you try example 3? I'll give you a couple minutes. I'll go over that. And then we'll basically, it's going to be quitting time. Okay. So just try that one. And that's land transfer tax, folks. So I'm just going to do a silent lesson on this, okay? So if you're still working, This is what it should be. You go from tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, but you can't subtract 50 grand from the 40. So you're stopping, right, times 1.5. And then, I know I haven't been assigning a whole lot of homework, okay? But I also am I don't have a lot of time to go over everything, so I'm gonna tell you this. Page 20 is homework. Okay? And I already posted the key just now as you were working. So if you want to know if you're on the right track, you should be pay close attention to this table here. I give you various prices, and I need you to figure out the land transfer tax for every house in that chart. Okay?